In the mid-1960s, Rover were in the midst of a revolution. The Rover P6 had taken the market by storm, beating out home competitors like the Triumph 2000, cementing the new Rover image as a sleek, stylish and technologically advanced car maker. This, along with the highly publicised gas turbine cars such as Jet 1 and the success of the Rover BRM gas turbine at Le Mans, made Rover of the 60s a formidable world-class car brand. With the world at its feet, Rover needed a new car to top its saloon range. Enter one of the most mysterious lost cars of Rover's golden era, the Rover P8. A saloon car that Rover hoped would rival the Mercedes S-Class and solidify their status as a world-class marque. That's right, in this video we are going to cover the Rover P8 and its lost future. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. If you're not subscribed already, please make sure to do so. Helps out the channel, helps me create more content like this and you get to see more of it as well. Like the video and drop a comment. Do you believe the Rover P8 cancellation was one of the worst mistakes that BL made? Or is there another mistake? Let me know. And would you have bought a P8? Do you think the P8 would have been a success? Let me know that as well, as I love to hear from you guys. Now this has taken a lot of research and is taking a lot of putting things together. So shout out as usual to AR Online, the best. And without further delay, let's get into the video. After the release of the Rover P6 in 1963, Rover succeeded the P4. It was becoming clear that Rover's image was in a transformation period. The continent-trotting Rover P6 was a revolution compared to the Rover's original rather regal image. With the very respectable P4 being succeeded and the P5 on sale alongside the P6, there was a need for a new model to replace both the P5 and P6 by 1970, bringing Rover into the new decade with a completely new lineup. The lineup would be as follows: the P8 as the luxury saloon to replace both the P6 and P5, and the P9 based on the Rover P6 BS prototype as the sports car to top the range. Development on the new car commenced in 1963, but the team was immediately presented with a problem. There was no suitable engine to power the beast. And with the Rover 2000 on its launch, a victim of compromise to get it to market in a timely fashion, its overhead cam 2-litre inline-4 engines had a significant disadvantage: weight, and the aging Rover IOE engines were also off the table. Rover needed a new power unit, and fast, to further refine its range. The beginnings of the Rover P8 program were beginning to form, with the Solihull design team working hard to create the foundation of the saloon to define Rover's next decade. The team, headed up by Spen King, decided on a P6-sized car. However, it was decided by the powers that be at the time that the new car should be larger than the P6, much to the dismay of Spen King, who originally didn't want to make a Jaguar-sized car. In order to work out the engineering solutions for the new car, the Rover P7 was devised, essentially a test platform for the P8's mechanical setup. The P7s had all manner of engines, but the most notable was the 6-cylinder engine that Rover had devised for the P8, which was essentially a 6-cylinder version of the P6's overhead cam 2-litre, with the capacity increased to 3 litres. This, though, was also a dead end. With the weight of the already quite heavy 4-cylinder engine, the 2 extra cylinders exacerbated the problem further, with the P7 mules fitted with these engines being front heavy and spoiling the handling. In the pursuit of excellence, a car that was a one-trick pony was not an option. It was then decided to look outward for the new engine rather than develop one in-house. The stars aligned in January of 1965 when Rover's managing director at the time, William Martin Hurst, and Buick agreed a deal for the rights to an engine disregarded by the American market, the Buick 215, which would become known as the Rover 3500 V8. This new V8 engine resolved the issues that Rover had had with the overweight engines it had been using to power the P7, meaning the potential of these prototypes could be unleashed to form the P8. This new engine also solved the powertrain problems that were present in the P5 and P6 at the time, resulting in the introduction of the P5B and P6B. With the engine issues now resolved, Rover could then turn their attention to the suspension. The P7s were then used to test the suspension setups, with new double wishbone front suspension with adjustable bushes to test the roll centre heights. The rear suspension was also vastly improved, with complex bushing arrangements, diagonal radius rods that also incorporated a Didion tube mounted in front of the rear axle, pivoting on a complex rubber bushing. The results of these modifications were an incredibly sharp ride with road noise improvements, but Rover wanted more. The team then turned to the benchmark at the time for ride quality, the Citroën DS, and its hydraulic suspension. Luckily, Rover had one laying around that they had purchased during the development of the Rover P6. And then, a Rover P6B was created unlike any other, as an engineering car with suspension ahead of all of Rover's competitors. This car was registered as CXC 838 and incorporated the P8's rear suspension and standard P6 suspension with hydraulic rams for self-leveling. With this new development car complete, it was time to test the car, and it was a revelation. Under harsh manoeuvres, the car remained composed, whereas the standard suspension would induce a lot of body roll. These developments gave rise to further advancements, with the Rover team partnering up with Lockheed Aviation to refine the suspension further and include hydraulic anti-skid braking. By mid-1967, with most of the technical work well underway, it then turned to the styling team led by David Bache to create the look to define Rover for the next decade. Rover was now owned by Leyland, who wanted the car to be the group's flagship, so the smaller engine options were dropped in favour of the expansion of the Rover V8 to a 4.4 litre variant. In 1968 though, something happened. British Leyland was formed with the merger of Leyland Motors and the British Motor Corporation to create a car behemoth. There were benefits, yes, but for Leyland there were a lot of drawbacks. Prior to this, BMC had merged with Jaguar, meaning Rover's new car would now have to compete with the Jaguar XJ6, both internally and externally. While all of this corporate restructuring was going on, the styling evolved further, and in 1969 the car's final design took place. A very macho looking thing, but also quite handsome. The car was now in the home stretch, and in 1970 the fully fledged car was tested on the public roads. But then, a car crash happened. In 1970 the P8 was crash tested, and it was a disaster, with Peter Wilson's quote summarising this the best. In its crash test, rather than the engine bay folding on impact, it was the front passenger compartment which had done so. It was a complete, utter and unexpected disaster. Hurried modifications were made and further crash tests carried out. The result, however, although showing a marginal improvement, was fundamentally the same. The damage was done, and with the BL board examining its financial situation at the time and the prospect of the P8 cannibalising the XJ6's sales, the decision was made. After years of development in Solihull, the car was cancelled in 1971. The P8 was dead, and with it Rover's last independently developed car to beat the world. The story of the P8 isn't over though. Some say the Leyland P76 in Australia is the P8 continued in a more simplified form. As for the prototype cars, the P7 prototypes were used in various tests, with only one surviving. The other four were used in crash testing and did not survive. The P8 prototype was a different story, with the P8 going on to be abandoned by BL and later rescued by the British Motor Museum at Gaydon, where it is today, but sadly it's worse for wear after many years in storage. The British Motor Museum is restoring this car, but due to the specialised nature of it, it's a long-term project and is believed to be the only P8 produced, making it a priceless one-off piece of motoring history. Back in 1971 though, the die was cast. Rover was no longer in control of its own destiny, and with that, the glory days of Rover were gone. For me though, this is Rover's first step down the wrong path. And it wasn't a path it chose itself, it was a path it was led down. The path to oblivion. The path to mediocrity, the path to what it became and what it ended up as. A defunct British marque that just was never allowed to reach its full potential. You can see an independent Rover producing things like the P6BS, the P6, the P5, this car, the P8, and the P10, which became the SD1, probably would have been launched a whole lot better than it was. Now, the P8, it was not very nice looking, to say the least. Would it have been refined further? Yes, probably, but it was just so brutish. The final design was brutish and slightly handsome, but the prototype, the black car that you see here, was just incredibly. It was so imposing and is so imposing, it just makes you slightly uncomfortable. But I want to know your opinion on this. If the P8 had been launched, would it have been a success? Would we still be talking about Rover today in the past tense if the Rover P8 had been launched and Rover was allowed to control its own destiny? Let me know in the comments below. Personally, if Leyland Motors and BMC hadn't have merged to create BL, I think potentially we could have still been talking about Rover today, but we would have ended up potentially with BMC going down the drain and the loss of Jaguar, Mini, Austin, etc., etc. So that would have been just another unpalatable thing to happen. Now, BMC, of course, were in dire straits during the merger. The Mini was being produced and sold at a loss. Even though it was incredibly popular and a revolution, it wasn't a financial revolution. Not that BMC had hoped anyway. So Leyland really had the financial might, but when you combine that with BMC, it just really went down the drain. And of course that led to British Leyland, which led to what we see and what we've seen over and read. Obviously I haven't seen it, I'm about 26, but what I've read and what some people have seen that have watched these videos. And again, the comments that we get on these videos, that I get on these videos, is absolutely fantastic. Reading the comments that you guys post about your experiences with these cars, because yes, I may look at them through rose-tinted glasses. I may think the PE166 is a fabulous engine, but you guys may have different opinions, and that's what makes this channel absolutely fantastic. So drop a comment below and let me know your opinion on the P8. As I said, would it have been a success? And without further waffling, you've got my opinion now, and I hope you enjoyed this video, because it took ages to produce because there is so little information. I've tried to get the timelines right. I've tried to sort all that out and make it so it's an entertaining yet informative video. But if I've made any mistakes, you need to put them in the comments below, because I'd rather people know the truth of these cars and know exactly what went on. So, without further waffling, I'll leave you as I always do. Thank you for watching. Keep watching and remember to subscribe for more of this, and I'll see you in the next one.